Welcome to episode 86 of The Place of Sound. I'm your host, Natalie Hall. The Place of Sound is a show that explores the theme of space, or the social geography, using sound and listening. This is done through a variety of audio media production formats, so you can expect to do a few different types of listening in a single show. Episodes consist of what we refer to as audio portraits, or oral history-style interviews that explore topics of home. Soundscape compositions, which use everyday sounds to communicate the personal and social significance of a given place. And we typically end the episode with a short documentary-style piece that explores the place-based identity of the producer. The aim with these projects is to allow the producer to think about the places that made them who they are today. These are the types of projects you can expect to hear on The Place of Sound, and all of them are produced by students here at Carleton University. They're what gets produced in Comms 4501, Digital Media Production, which is Vincent Andrusani's fourth-year workshop course in the Communication and Media Studies program. Welcome back, everyone, to The Place of Sound. Today's episode is the first in a two-part series where I will be talking about the Bank Block Tenants and their fight against the eviction of 227 Bank Street and 178 Nepean Street. In this episode, I sat down with Ben Emond, one of the Bank Block Tenants, to talk about his experience with the eviction and how he and the community has organized to fight it. This series is very important to me for many reasons. For one, I have seen BBT work tirelessly to defend their homes and fight the unjust housing system. And it's also one of my last episodes as the host of The Place of Sound. So I'm feeling very grateful in many ways. I'm so grateful to have had a hand in the show and to have been working on it for the past year. I've seen so much great work come out of this show, and I feel very happy about where I'm leaving it and the future of it. And I'm equally grateful to have the last episodes be around the story that I feel so deeply about and that has been a big part of the lives of the people around me and the community around me. And you'll be hearing my voice on a few more episodes, so I'm not going to say goodbye just yet, and I'm not going to get too sappy about it, but I just wanted to kind of mark this moment in the show and show the importance of these next few episodes. So I'll still be here, and for now, this is my conversation with Ben. Well, we're here.
Yeah.
Unit 1 in 227 Bank Street. And how long have you lived here?
About 6.5 years at this point, yeah.
So does it feel like home to you?
Yeah, I would say at this point, yes, because it took a while, like I guess any place, but I fixed up the apartment and needed a fair bit of repairs, flooring and painting and what else, fixing holes. And then because I lived through COVID here and my daughter she would come over every day and we'd play. Some of the signs are still left, dancing. I think that was when I set up a RuPaul. Like, she was into RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah. And so I had different areas for like setting up music, fashion, whatever. I can't even remember. But so doing all those things here, having the tenant meetings here, I don't know, having my fiance here and us meeting here, it's become home for sure. It definitely feels that way. And having the community, as you just met Leslie, the last artist leaving, so you could see, get a sense of the community that's here, which helps make a place feel like home.
Yeah.
So,
and I think for many people, it's like a kind of unique experience, or something that's like, oh, it could never happen to me, to be evicted from your home. Yes. It seems like when it's not on people's radars, like it's not going to happen to them. How did it feel when you found out about Smart Living Properties' plan?
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't necessarily have it on your radar. You're just living your life. You might hear about housing crisis, but you don't personalize it necessarily. I felt receiving the notice of termination of tenancy from Smart Living was, you feel violated. You feel like somebody just comes in and just grabs you and is pulling you away from your life and your home through no fault or discussion of your own. And you start to think, wait, how is that okay? You feel, like a pawn in some game that you hadn't even started playing. And you start to realize all you've been told about Canada being good or Canada being somehow different from other countries. You realize, no, not in that respect, and not in several other respects, in my opinion. But you start, the injustice of it just hits you in the head. So the impact is quite immediate, because I think we were told at the time they wanted our tenancy to end on February. We were told in October of 2023, the end of October 2023, and it said on the form that our tenancy was terminating the end of February of the next year of 2024. So that was like November, December, January, February, 4 months. Yeah. They said the tenancy was over. So. Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I remember from the time is there was going to be a public consultation meeting with the city of Ottawa. It's funny, I wouldn't have known about this meeting except like an hour before some of my neighbors said, oh, there's a Zoom meeting where we can comment on this. Okay. So I can't remember. I think at that time, I was incredibly emotional, and I did say something in the meeting. I just said, you're taking our homes away. So I don't know that I knew I wanted to fight. I didn't know enough about what it means to fight. I hadn't been involved in activism, especially housing activism. So I can't remember when the idea of fighting came about. It was probably through talking informally with my neighbors. Yeah, and I think fortunately, in this case, some of our neighbors, like Eric, had experience in this field, kind of. They knew about housing activism. Even the idea that you can fight it, I don't even know that most people would even think about that. Yeah. Because I've had a lot of people since say to me, well, Ben, it's their property, they own it, they're going to sell it, what did you expect? And from a certain point of view, I mean, I don't agree with that at all in a sense. But if you abide by this system, then of course that's how you would think about it. Like, it's their building. It's preposterous, really, in my opinion. Yeah. I think a couple of my neighbors, like Julie and Eric mostly, they had already had connections. Eric, I think, had connections with some of the people with Knock, Ethan and some of the others. So I think it was his discussion, Eric and then Julie's discussion with them, some of those people, that started this whole idea of fighting. I believe in the winter of 2024, like let's say January and February, if my memory serves. I think that's when we started meeting, and formally I'd have to look back, but I remember that it was in the winter of 2024. I remember that we delivered a demand letter to Smart Living's office asking to meet with the landlord to discuss this. I think it was in April of 2024, if I remember correctly. So it was kind of in the spring of 2024 when I personally started really kind of starting to research. And then by kind of like June, that's when I really started doing my own research, tabling on the Saturdays, doing a little bit of door knocking, taking a much more active role in this, doing interviews, all that stuff.
So it's obviously been like a very long journey, and the most recent, I guess, event that you guys have been dealing with is the tenant board hearing, which ended very quickly before it was meant to, and they did not allow witnesses to make a statement. And were you supposed to speak at the tenant board meeting?
Yes. Well, what happened was the landlord, because it was the landlord's application, they present their case. They spoke to one witness. One witness did most of their testimony, and then another witness had answered like 2 of our questions, and that was their case. And then so the 7 households that were left, some of the households have more than one person, but each household was only represented by one. So we all spoke. So the tenants all spoke as witnesses in the landlord called us, and really, the landlord's lawyer, and really they just asked us, when did you receive the notice, the N13, the notice to end your tenancy? Have you looked for an apartment? Have you looked for affordable housing? Have you looked for subsidized, whatever? They basically just asked all of us that, as if we should have been doing that, as if that's even a possibility, like with the waiting list at thousands of people. And besides, several of us wouldn't even qualify, right? Because if you make over whatever X amount, you know. So, and then when it came to our turn the next day, so that was all Monday, it was supposed to go all week. Tuesday morning, the landlord's lawyer argued that our 3 non-tenant witnesses, so the 3 witnesses who were speaking to the social cost of housing, which is real, were not allowed to speak because their lawyer, the landlord's lawyer, argued that what they had to say was not relevant to the proceeding, which is the most... even if you're going to say that given the rules of the Residential Tenancies Act, not the rules, the laws, that there is no or there's minimal or no relevancy in what those people had to say, that shows that the laws are suspect or unjust, right? And the reason, I think, why, if you were to ask the adjudicator why he would have disallowed their testimony, was that all the landlord has to prove or show is that they have an intention to demolish this block. That's all. So if you look at it narrowly like that, clearly the landlord had applied to the city to have this development approved, and it had been approved. So from that point of view, I mean, if you make it that easy, of course. I mean, we're sitting there thinking, well, but what about the harm to people's lives? And it's a Residential Tenancies Act, and it's the landlord and tenant board. So what's going on here? Why is there no consideration for the lives of the tenants? Like, I don't understand. And the interesting thing is, our lawyer, who was an experienced tenant lawyer from Toronto, said, I suspected that they would not grant our witness testimony. They would not allow that. I mean, that whole thing is just beyond belief to me.
Well, it's blocking you of your resources and the voices of many people who do agree with you. That's simply true. Like on the fact that they're not tenants. Obviously, it's been a hard journey. I think from what I've witnessed, just simply as a witness, there's also been like a lot of community and love there, and even some fun sometimes. Absolutely. At the last fundraising show, you performed a song. And can you tell us who that was dedicated to and why you wrote that song?
Yeah, for sure. So just to echo your point, Natalie, there's been a tremendous community support. Overwhelming, really. Over the year, every Saturday we'd be outside talking to people about what's happening here, and overwhelmingly people were supportive of what we're trying to do. And the city of Ottawa accepted, had about 360 portal comments where people could comment on this development that were against this development. It was incredible, unprecedented, I think. So yeah, the song was dedicated to Bini Kuriakose, who is one of the main investors in this block, in this project. He is a Ottawa heart surgeon who has been involved in previous investments with Smart Living with their CEO, Tamara Baza. The irony, as we've said many times, is that a heart doctor mass evicts people. Yeah. And presumably doctors want to help people and not harm people. Yeah. There's a whole Hippocratic oath thing. They're not supposed to cause harm. Yeah. So this song was dedicated to him, and it was talking about, we have this picture of him on a yacht. I was just thinking maybe one day he'll actually want to go to an island where they don't use money and they're just concerned about love. And maybe that's where he was going on his yacht in this fantasy world. And my hope is that somewhere deep down he might realize that love is more important than kind of other worldly things, like possessions, money. And so it was kind of a imaginative thought, like what would, instead of being all nasty, even if it's a bit, tongue in cheek what I'm saying, it's, I like to think that there's human beings inside of all of us who still have empathy. I think a lot of us get caught up in the system and lose sight of the humanity, so that was a little ballad dedicated to him.
It was a great way to start the show, and
thanks. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Good, yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about the different ways you organize and the ways you and the organization maintains energy to keep fighting the impact that creativity or events like that have on your resilience.
That's a great question. Yeah, I think I've talked about this with other my fellow tenants and with people on the knock. The reaction and support of people around us in the community. For example, unions that we have, my union with the public service has supported us financially, donated money, and they've told me, and other people in the community have said, we're inspired by what you're doing. And when we're feeling depleted, which has happened many times throughout the last year and a half, that does spur us on. I don't know why. It just makes me think, okay, it matters what we're doing beyond our little battle here. So that's been that reinfuses our energy for sure. For sure. The creative stuff, there's been beautiful art that's been produced by Colin White, a local artist, of some drawings of the buildings, and he's done art for our t-shirts that we've sold. He has different prints that we've sold for our fundraising. It's I think and some of the music that this is from in me, that it's given rise to. I think art is, as a musician, I've always used music to kind of express how I feel about things, and it's nothing new, the idea that music is a reflection of what's going on. There's been protest music at different times in history. I think it's a constructive way of us dealing with these difficult feelings. And I think the two fundraising shows that we've had at the Rainbow, where we've had bands coming and playing with their great, original music, it's not that their songs are about us, but in a sense, their creativity is going towards supporting us, and it's an interesting thing that it's quite a beautiful community surrounds this fight. And just the last fundraising show, a band came from the Toronto area to come and perform, and we were talking to them, and they were just great. It's So then you get to thinking to yourself, okay, this is even beyond Ottawa. And we've been in communications with other tenant groups, other organizations in Toronto and Vancouver. So when you have that type of really national support, that spurs us on too, I think. That solidarity we've had.
Well, I don't have any more questions, and I want to thank you for bringing me into your home.
No problem, Natalie. It was a pleasure. I'm glad people can see it before. We had a documentary done.
Oh, really?
Students from Algonquin did a documentary. I don't know if you can find it. It was on YouTube. But they filmed our apartments, which is nice. So it's kind of on record, whatever happens to this place.
I mean, it really has a lot of history, obviously. Just talked to Leslie, who's been in her space for 20 years, visiting people for longer. And is there anything you wanna say?
Yeah, what I would like to say, and thank you. You're welcome, by the way. It's been a pleasure having you here. I think I want to say that I see a lot of hope with the younger generation, people in their 20s and 30s, with the awareness that our housing system, maybe even our economic system, but our housing system doesn't work. And I personally feel like systematic change is needed, where housing is not commodified. Because I think as soon as you do that and make it something you can buy and sell, then the human beings who are affected aren't considered, at least not enough. So I hope that younger generations, when they become decision makers, that we'll see a change, a more foundational change, which I really believe has to happen. As long as somebody's looking to make money off of somebody's need for shelter, I can't see how we're ever going to get out of this. Even if we enact bylaws and change tenant law, which would help, I don't know if they can go far enough. So that's what I hope will happen one day.
For sure.
But it might sound idealistic, but
no. I mean, I completely agree, and I don't have. Well, obviously, I don't have the solution, but there's like so much power in even just hoping for something different, like not accepting the current circumstances just because they're the current circumstances.
I hope so. It's So
well, thank you. And I have one last request, although you can decline.
Yes.
Would you sing a little bit of your song?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Benny, do you believe there is an island of love someplace whose shores have never felt the waves of money's fast pace, where you can really hold someone with nature's consent, where time remembers how it's really meant to be spent? I'd rather picture you that way. This time you're really gonna stay. You're sailing far away from here, 'cause it's really loneliness you fear. Deep in our hearts there's only love. It's all we're really dreaming of. Benny, can I come with you? Is there room on the yacht? I promise this guitar's the only thing that I've got. Maybe when we come ashore we'll say our goodbyes. I'll look past all the lonely to see love in your eyes. Just look above from where you are. The palm trees face the aging stars.
Once again, thank you so much to Ben for sitting down and speaking with me and for bringing me into his home so graciously. I've been working as a student journalist for many years now, and this was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Ben and all the people in BBT are just really amazing and open, and if you're scared of getting involved or don't know where to start, you can start by talking to them. They're very open, they're very welcoming, and they will tell you everything you need to know. And if you want to know more about BBT, you can go to www.bankblocktenants.ca or find them on Instagram at Bank Block Tenants. You can also find the Ottawa Neighborhood Organizing Center at Ottawa Knock on Instagram. And all of these will be linked in the description of the episode. Once again, I want to amplify how important community organizing is and how essential it is in creating tangible, real change in the community. Talk to your neighbors, talk to friends, and get involved. And before I sign off, a couple of quick notes. A reminder that what we've listened to here on this show is only a fraction of the work produced in association with this project. If you're interested in checking out more, have a look at theplaceofsound.ca. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning into The Place of Sound, and happy listening.